Good evening and welcome to eNews. I'm Shahan Ramkisoon. It's great to have you with us. Our top stories tonight. A municipal mess. The Auditor General reveals only 18 out of 257 municipalities received clean audits. A raid on preschools in Johannesburg shows just how bad the situation is, with officials saying early childhood development is in crisis. And shifting the blame, owners of the Westvale Hospital in Orkney leave workers high and dry after not paying their salaries for 4 months. This leads and it's shocking. Only 18 out of 257 municipalities got a clean audit. That's the word from Auditor General Kimi Makwetu. Meanwhile, irregular expenditure decreased slightly to 25 billion rand, but the AG says this is still too high. Maloko Malotto reports.
Of the 18 municipalities that got clean audits, 12 are in the Western Cape. In Gauteng, Midvaal is the best. In 5 municipalities, the AG was unable to audit the procurement of tenders and contracts worth 1.2 billion rand because relevant information had mysteriously gone missing. And with over 500 million rand of that figure, the major culprit is the city of Tshwane. The Auditor General is lamenting that his recommendations are largely ignored. 74% of municipalities didn't follow up allegations of financial misconduct and fraud, and another 45% don't have the required mechanisms in place for reporting and investigating transgressions and possible fraud. And in cases where such investigations were made, 34% of those municipalities failed to resolve all the findings properly. While Makwetu can't evoke punitive provisions of the amended Public Audit Act yet, because he can't apply them retrospectively, he is pinning his hopes on other institutions.
We've now got this amendment in terms of the Public Audit Act. We've interacted, for example, with the National Director of Public Prosecutions. We've interacted with the SIU. We've interacted with National Treasury and many others that are in this realm of work.
But going forward, Makwetu says the gravy train can expect to be derailed because officials will be held accountable. It remains to be seen if the culture of impunity will be stopped anytime soon. Maloko Malotto, Pretoria.
Early childhood development is in crisis. That's the word from the city of Johannesburg after it shut down 2 illegal childcare centres. Several provincial departments raided preschools in Sophia Town today. The operation follows the deaths of 2 children at an unregistered creche in the area, apparently after they ingested rat poison. Yanka Tolme has more.
Children are being put in illegal care centres in Johannesburg while parents are at work. This creche, with about 42 children in its care, was one of 2 that's been shut down. That's until they meet all the required regulations.
During this time, some of the stuff that were not compliant, did you feel that any of the kids were at any point unsafe here?
I don't know what to say. Not really. We try as much to make sure that all the kids are safe and well protected.
Another creche was also issued with a notice of closure, while at least 3 more have been instructed to take urgent steps. That's because of overcrowding, a lack of basic fire safety measures, as well as zoning issues. And the city is worried.
There is an ECD crisis in the country. The fact that the government is not offering early childhood development the same way that we do with basic education is a crisis on its own. In the city of Johannesburg, there's an estimated 500,000 children that require early childhood development.
Some are claiming they've been trying to comply but have run into obstacles.
Where exactly are you to assist us? Because we go to you guys, but you don't come back to us.
You see the government
like now,
to you today.
Yes, the government came to us, but now, that's why I want to know that who do you blame?
More raids are expected. Yanka Tolme, Johannesburg.
As the underground sit-in at the Lances mine in Rustenburg drags on, 2 more workers have been rushed to hospital. Hundreds more are refusing to return to the surface until their demands are met. Families say they're struggling to make ends meet as breadwinners remain underground. One demand is to have a mine captain suspended for allegedly harassing a co-worker. Mine management says talks have once again resumed. NUMSA is again blaming the company for deliberately starving protesters' miners.
It's very bad, it's not nice. We are just like, we don't have any place to do. So people are now starving, there's suffocation, and this fume that we are using down there is not good.
Since we cannot be provided with food, what is it that you are living with underground? What is it that is helping you to have strength underground?
Only water that we have. We survive with only water.
Employees at the Westvale Hospital in the northwest have not received salaries for 4 months. More than 70 workers have been affected. Management's confirmed that the mining hospital isn't paying pensions and SARS contributions either. Now, this despite the deductions reflecting on their pay slips. Aviwe Mtila has more.
These employees are fighting for their rights.
We haven't been paid for the last 4 months, although every month we got the pay slips with all the deductions that they purport to make on our behalf. They are not registered with pension fund. They are not even registered with SARS. We are out of medical aid. We were taken off medical aid because of non-employer contributions.
Workers are crying fraud, while the hospital says the situation isn't a secret.
The owners understand it, he knows about it, and then even the UIF, Department of Labor, did come here about 2 or 3 times, to take statements, to do some investigations.
Padiso Clinics took over the Westvale Hospital in October last year. One executive is shifting the blame onto JM Capital Africa, which was supposed to be in charge of payments.
JMCA was supposed to give all the finances and funding, and 6 weeks after this project was taken over, JMCA just disappeared. They completely disappeared off the map. Nobody knows where they are.
Union representatives are fuming.
We are sick and tired with the fly-by-nights of the companies who don't want to pay the employees, while the employees are wake up on daily basis, come at work, but at the end of the day, they get nothing.
While employees are demanding their salaries for the last 4 months, the owner's license to operate the hospital expires at the end of this month. Aviwe Mtila, Orkney, Northwest.
No shortcuts and no quick fixes. This is President Cyril Ramaphosa's response to critics who say the country needs more than dreams to rise out of its slump. Responding to the debate on his State of the Nation address, Ramaphosa says his team is working hard behind the scenes to bring much-needed investment and jobs to South Africa.
There are no shortcuts and there are no quick fixes. And if there ever was a notion that we would have a magic wand and change the trajectory of our economy overnight, I should disappoint you, it's not going to be the case. It is going to take time, it's going to take a great deal of effort, but we have embarked on a journey, and I would like us to take this journey together.
Gauteng police are investigating a case of murder after a video of a man being shot dead went viral on social media. The incident happened in Newtown in Johannesburg yesterday. It's unclear who filmed the footage. It shows a 47-year-old businessman parking his car. He gets out and takes a bag from his boot. He waves at somebody and starts walking. Then someone rushes towards him from behind, points a gun at him and fires a number of shots before fleeing. Police say they'll increase visibility in the area. They've confirmed a case of murder has also been opened. Spokesperson Mavela Zondo says the footage is not from any of the police's own CCTV cameras.
It jeopardizes our investigation in a way. We really appreciate the assistance from the community, but then please let them come forward. They can go to the nearest police station or they can call our Crime Stop number, which is 08600 10111, if they've got information that they believe can help in the investigation.
Now, often it's a thankless job. Every day, restaurant employees wait on others at their every beck and call, and they don't always get a tip for their efforts. But one Johannesburg waitress impressed her customers so much that she's received an 18,000 Rand tip. Slindelo Masikane reports.
It was a night like any other at the beer house in Fourways. But 30-year-old Ayanda Ndlovu was serving a very special patron who was enjoying a night out with her friends at this table. Little did Ayanda know that her great service would earn her a whopping tip of 18,000 Rand.
No, mina naye besikhuluma. Like, then we talked, and then she asked me, what's like ngifuna ukwenzani in life? Then I said to her, you know, I want to be a paramedic, but I don't have any plan.
The bill amounted to just over 1,300 Rand, but the customer, who wants to remain anonymous, decided to add something beyond the usual 10% tip.
I looked at her. She didn't look drunk. She looked very much sober, which kind of like gave me comfort. But I still insisted on saying, please, are you 100% sure about this? And she was like, yes, I'm 100% sure about this.
I was very, very, very shocked. So like, I was like, Jesus,
Ayanda never matriculated. She now wants to use the money she received to go back to school and pursue her dream of becoming a paramedic. Thanks to a kind-hearted patron, Ayanda's dreams are just that much closer to becoming a reality. For now, though, she'll continue serving her customers one table at a time. Thanks, Ayanda. Slindelo Masigan, Johannesburg.
I'll be taking tips to bring you the news. Our address is 5 Summit Road, Hyde Park. All right, stay with us on eNews. Coming up, a breakthrough in the fight against air pollution as a French court rules against the state in a case involving a member of the public. Andrew Peel will be back to tell us how the markets performed today.
That's right, Shahan. So the dollar regained its strength today as the US Federal Reserve downplayed its prospects of cutting interest rates, but this did hurt emerging market currencies.
Welcome back. Let's talk business now with Ropiwa Madziena. So, of course, 75% increase in online fraud. That's worrying.
Very worrying, Shahan. So criminals are taking every opportunity they can to get their grubby hands on banking customers' money. So that 75% increase, a huge contributor to that, was something that's gaining a lot of prominence. And they call it vishing. So this is Sabric's report. They call it vishing. And this is a process where you get that call from someone who claims to be from a bank or a service provider and ask for details that banks or other service providers really wouldn't be asking for. We're also still seeing a significant increase in debit card and credit card fraud. What they did say, though, which is a good thing, was about 22% decrease in cash in transit incidents. So that helped the industry a little bit. But what they are noticing is that there are increasingly sophisticated means in which fraudsters are using to hook customers. And what's scary, Shahan, is an increase in online app. So your banking app fraud, so that's increased significantly, over 250 million lost by customers in 2018 due to that fraud. And it's very scary times because you've seen the likes of African Bank and Standard Bank really trying to boost their online offering. Standard Bank shutting down a number of branches, over 100 if I'm not mistaken, and African Bank recently launching their My World online platform. So it's going to be very interesting times to see how banks are able to deal with the fraudsters, but offering really efficient and safe online services to their customers.
Yeah, how did the markets perform today?
So the markets were higher today. So we saw the JSE closed higher, while global markets were a little mixed. The miners lost some ground after the US Federal Reserve threw cold water on those market expectations of aggressive interest rate cuts in the US as early as July. So some gains were led by JSE heavyweight Naspers, which was 1.5% higher. So that gold price lost about 1% of yesterday's gains, and this is of course as the US Reserve will not resort to aggressive interest rate cuts. On the oil front, it was bad news for consumers as the oil price continues to gain, and this is after US stockpiles decreased. If we take a look at your local unit now, the sentiment coming out of the US Federal Reserve has also had an impact on emerging market currencies, which traded lower today, but the rand was able to cling on to its recent gains, Shahan.
All right, thanks so much for that, Rupio. I was actually working out, given the rate there between the US dollar, I would need $1,300 to get an 18,000 rand tip.
You're really
so
stuck
happy
on this
about
tip.
that.
You're really stuck on this tip.
Thanks so much for that. Appreciate it, Rupio Madzena. International news now. A court in France has found that the country failed to take sufficient action to tackle air pollution around Paris between 2012 and 2016. The complaint was filed by a woman who claimed her health and that of her daughter had been harmed by atmospheric pollution. It's the first time a court holds the state accountable for not enacting sufficient measures to deal with air pollution levels. And police in Myanmar have set fire to 1.5 billion rands worth of drugs. The illicit substances were burned to mark the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. Myanmar is the second biggest producer of heroin. After the break, we'll go to Luis Fernandez at the Weather Center for your live report, and then making South Africa proud, the Ndlovu Youth Choir from Limpopo share their version of My African Dream on one of the world's biggest talent shows. Stay with us for that. Welcome back. Let's see how the weather's doing now. Luis Fernandez is standing by in Cape Town. Hey, Louis.
Good evening, Shahan. Well, we have lots taking place over the next 24 hours in South Africa, starting off with moisture continuing to move in over the northern parts of the country overnight. That could bring some morning cloud cover to the high veld, perhaps even a bit of fog. And then in the afternoon, our attention shifts to the west. A fast-moving cold front approaching will be causing very windy weather over the western interior. And then in the evening, the front makes landfall and wet weather moves in over parts of the Western Cape. The Northern Cape will be sunny and dry during the course of your Thursday, but as we've just seen, it is going to be a very windy day for much of this province. And we'll also see strong winds for the interior of the Western Cape. And by evening, gale force winds from Table Bay through to Cape Agulhas, and then the rain starts to move into the area as well at night. A warm afternoon expected for the Eastern Cape, with much of the province managing to climb deep into the 20s. And we'll see similar conditions into parts of KZN, especially along the coastline, where it is going to be a sunny but breezy afternoon. For Mpumalanga, partly cloudy skies, no rain in the forecast. It will also be marginally warmer, and that same trend is expected into Limpopo, with Polokwane climbing just above 20 degrees. It'll be a mild day in the northwest with some cloud cover over the province. And for this area, as well as the Free State, the moisture that's in circulation overnight keeps those minimum temperatures above 0 degrees for a change. And finally, for Gauteng, you'll see a little bit of cloud, no rain expected, and it's going to be another cool day across the region. Let's move ahead to your conditions for Friday, and the cold front will be making its way into the interior, leaving behind it cloudy, cold and wet weather, including for Sutherland with a maximum of only 7 degrees. And then for the start of the weekend, conditions will be improving over those western parts, but it stays cold with a few showers in Cape Town, chilly along the southern coastline, but in the north, it's going to be sunny and warm. That's it from the Weather Centre. Back to you, Shahan.
All right, thanks for that, Louis. Appreciate it. And finally, they are breaking the internet. The Ndlovu Youth Choir from Limpopo has gained international fame. That's after a standing ovation at America's Got Talent, with many of the children coming from poor backgrounds. Their stories have left an impression. The choir is back in South Africa, taking in the well-deserved praise. Let's take a look at their performance. Amazing, isn't it? From me, Shahan Ramkisoon, and the rest of the team, take care and thanks for watching.